Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Angel Road Outdoors, the podcast. This is episode 32. I am your host, Brett, and I am joined tonight by Bill Ritchie, or Billy Ritchie. It's easier for me to say Bill Ritchie than it is Billy Ritchie. You okay with that? You
Oh
okay with
yeah, that works.
Bill?
They call me Will at work, so it,
Okay.
it don't matter.
I have met people that are like, it's got to be formal. It's my birth name or nothing. And so
Oh yeah,
be respectful. And
it
since
is what it is.
you, I know it was our first time ever talking, like with words, not via text. I thought I might as well be respectful. So thanks for joining me tonight, Bill.
Oh, no problem.
No, it was kind of last minute. I mean, literally asked you yesterday if you could join me today.
Well, I don't have much going on besides the kids are out in the woods, so
Nice. Well, that's good. You mentioned that you work nights.
oh yeah,
That's you're a wild man. Good for you.
have to.
Yeah.
I could do if I work during the day. It's like burning daylight.
Well, since I don't really know you at all, but I think you know some other guys that I'm friends with. Why don't you just take a few minutes and introduce yourself to the podcast and who you are, where you're from, what your Instagram tag is, name is, and where people can follow along with you.
Okay, well, everybody calls me Billy or William mostly, and I'm William Ritchie. That's where you can find me on Facebook or Instagram, or it's DD Hunter 12. And I grew up in southern Michigan and I've hunted all over the state. I mainly hunt only public land now. And when I was younger, yeah, we hunted public and private, but a lot of it was just it was easier to have access to private, like back in the late 90s, like when I would just go hunt with my dad. And then we owned property in the UP. And then that's where I really like grew up hunting and like hunting with my grandpa and like really learning how to hunt. And then when I turned like 18, that's when I pretty much broke off. And then that's when all the public land like really come all together because it's just you can roam. Like there's no like boundary besides, I mean, obviously if you run out of public, but it's you don't feel like you're in a cage because that's how I feel like if I hunt a private parcel. I mean, if you're surrounded a private parcel by many other private parcels, you're kind of like in a goldfish bowl. You only have so much room to move, and if the deer aren't there, I mean, it's kind of like a crapshoot. The best way to describe that. But that's that's pretty much it. I mean, I grew up in southern Michigan. I like to fish, hunt, and trap, and then I mean, I have an obsession with deer, and that's what a lot of people know me for. But a lot of other people know me for fishing and some other stuff. So,
And you're local to Michigan.
oh yeah, I grew up in Michigan my whole life. I've
Yeah.
never lived anywhere else.
And Southern Michigan.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think
I mean, I guess I don't know if you consider the thumb mid Michigan, but I grew up like probably till a teenager in mid Michigan in the thumb. And then
okay.
I moved more like central southern Michigan, if best way to describe it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that's awesome. So this I was your name came up from Generations to Hunt. That's how I knew of your name. I did not associate your that name with your Instagram name at all. And
Well, that's the mystery behind it. And that's where a lot of people get really confused sometimes.
so I'm putting things together like the last 24, 36 hours. I've been putting the pieces of the puzzle together. Like, Joe at Generations to Hunt. You just told me that you went to Indiana with him. I talked to Joe about going to Indiana. And then yesterday, I find myself scouting a piece of public property um, within 20 minutes of my house that I've had a pin on for a while. It's not a huge piece, but it's something I've had my eye on. I know what the area around there is like. I've golfed at the golf course near there. I just know what it's like over there. Okay. Um, I went there last week one day, Thursday. I only had 2 hours, so I really didn't have a lot of time to dig in. Did what I wanted to do, got out, and I found myself yesterday, Sunday, with nothing to do. My wife had plans with some ladies. My son didn't want to go with me. He doesn't want poison ivy or ticks. Can't say that I blame him. Um, so I went to this same exact property, but I went to the other side of it, and I wanted to just take my time, explore, and figure this thing out. And I took a cup, just a couple pictures. I took a little video standing in the parking lot. I took a single picture of a cedar tree with a reflective tack on it. And then I took one more picture of a couple of beds on a high spot in the swamp. And Billy reached out to me on Instagram and he goes, I know where you are at. And I was like, no, the fuck you don't. I didn't say that to him, but I was like, how the fuck is this guy going to know where I'm at? Because out of those three pictures, and that son of a gun knew exactly where I was at. Tell me how you did that.
Well, honestly, pretty much the dead giveaway is that tree you walked by.
Oh, is that your tack?
No, but I've seen that a billion times. And like, you're not the first person that I've guessed where they're at completely just because of little things that I've seen in the woods that like it just, and also especially that cedar swamp, there's not really very many like it.
I have never seen a cedar swamp or cedar swamps plural like I saw yesterday.
Oh, and wait till you get lost in the dark in there. It's exciting. It's it'll consume you because it's like in the dark you're just in that whole wall, and then on top of it, you thought there was just that one tack right there. There's a million cat eyes everywhere, and it looks like eyes literally everywhere. It's crazy
because there's not really a defined trail over there from one point to the back. It's not like clearly defined trail. You have to meander from dry spot.
Oh yeah,
or through the water, the swamp. But you're right. I did see, I don't know, 50 tacks probably yesterday. But it leads me to a much bigger topic. And the topic was just recently brought up by Chris Leppert over, at the Mobile Hunters Facebook page. He is the owner of the Mobile Hunters Expo. He made a post about burning spots. And now that's not what's happening here. But he made a post about burning spots and how he intended to, or whoever the moderators were, intended to censor or remove content from that page, or that page specifically, when it seemed like someone was trying to burn somebody's spot. Like, I know where you are. This is where it is. And it now is public knowledge. And that's not what happened. I want to be very clear. Billy did not do that.
Kept it super private.
I'm so fascinated with your ability to recognize that fucking tree and tack and know exactly where I was at, because I've been to a lot of public, but somehow you have it in your brain exactly what it looks like back there. And I want you to elaborate a little bit on what drew you to public and why you have this ability to visually memorize what you see out there.
So, like, what really draws me to public is the fact that you have a lot of room to play, and there's a lot of public in Michigan. If you really lay it down and look, there really is. We really live in a paradise. Like, I don't care what anybody says. You can be angry all you want, but like, you have like the chances you can go find animals or deer or game and any of it. Like, even if you're just a bird watcher or looking for fish or any of it, like, we have the public access, and that's like part of me made me take like we paid for it, so like, why not use it? And then two is like, I like adventure. There's always something new to look at. And then the whole like remembering things, I don't know, I'm really good at remembering a lot of things for some reason. And what's funny is like, even right there where you were at, the first time I ever hunted down in there and went in there on opening day in the morning, I kicked a big buck. He was just standing there looking right at me and was confused on what the hell I was doing in there. And that was before I even knew what I was really doing either, completely at all, even though if I know what I'm doing right now. But regardless, it's just like, we have all these million acres of public, and like, yeah, I like private land, and I have nothing against people hunting private land, but it's not the adventure for me. I feel like when I'm 70 years old, yeah, I'll probably hunt some private land because it's just easier access. But like, while you're young, why aren't you getting it? Like, why aren't you getting after it? Like, there's no reason why you can't get after it.
Yeah, you make a great point. At 70 years old, I wouldn't be able to go where I went yesterday. Period.
No. I mean, no, not down in there. Once it like it's probably dry in there right now. Was it pretty dry?
No, it's pretty wet.
Okay, because when I was able to really wet,
I was able to go from high spot to high spot with very little water. I mean, I was soaked, but it was raining and I fell. And so
Oh,
there's
okay.
that. I didn't fall in the creek or anything, but I fell into the swamp.
Well, I've been lost there quite a few times, and it doesn't help. There's all that fragmite in there too.
Yeah,
If you notice that there's
exactly.
frag, and it's a wall of it in places, and you're like, you'll get completely lost in there in that.
Yeah, I was literally as far back as you could go, and I thought to myself, "Why am I back here? I'm s- I I would be so mad. I know myself. I would love the adventure, but there come a moment where I would be like, "You idiot! Why are you this far back here? It's pitch black. You're never going to be able to figure out how to get out of here. You've got to poop, and it's late. And
Oh yeah.
why did you go all the way back here?" Like I know myself too well. I'll probably do it anyway, but I know I had that thought yesterday that I'm going to get lost out here and fall in that freaking creek in the back.
Oh well, there's some spots in the back there too, and like I'm trying not to give away. It would give too much of a giveaway where it's at, but
Right.
there's some spots that have literally no bottom back there. Like
And
you want to be very careful what you're doing.
that's what we're trying to get as we are not going to use this podcast to burn a spot because I do believe based on what I saw yesterday there's a lot of deer here but I
And
want
I'm happy you said that because I truly love that place. It's a nice little chunk that's like nobody knows, like
so
kind of deal,
tell
you
us
know.
about what it was like in its heyday from your experience.
Well, I feel like I caught the tail end of it, but
Oh,
like
okay.
all the people I ran into that I did talk to, and then there was people I know that have hunted it for probably 20 years, and they've killed a whole bunch of nice deer out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think, there's this one old dude I ran into over there, and he just told me about there was an absolute monster that would run through there, and he could never figure out how to kill him. And I mean, what's around it, I can believe it, and what I've
Sure.
seen, and what there is for rubs and everything else that shows in there, and then the deer I
Mm-hmm.
shot out of there.
But what happened to it?
Who knows? I mean, I don't think anybody shot it, but then
No,
also,
no, not the deer, the
oh,
the land, the property, the habitat.
well, middle of probably 2 years within a me after I started hunting it, then we got an EHD die off, and
Interesting.
they found a ton of deer in the back in the corner there in the
It,
creek.
I have never known. You know what? Maybe I do. I didn't think I knew anybody here in Michigan that had ever experienced any EHD, but I sort of vaguely recall some friends of mine talking about it, but not witnessing it.
It happens like in spots. Like
It's so
it's not
bizarre.
like it is screwed up. It's I don't even know how to explain it. And then there's actually another place close to there too, kind of that like I can't even say what it is or to give away what it
Yeah.
is, but that place used to be full of big deer. And I mean, like I know some people that they probably killed, I don't know, probably 15 Pope and Youngs out of there or better.
Yeah.
And then they cut trails through it. But what happened to the place is that it had EHD come through there and they found 40 something deer and like 30 bucks or something in the back creek, some crazy amount. The DNR had to come and pull them all out because it was
Wow.
such a smell to all the houses in the back.
Unbelievable. Now, with you being here in Michigan and hunting for your whole, what sounds that, what age did you start hunting?
When I could, when I was 12.
And so I assume you've been hunting your whole life since then. Like you didn't take any breaks, like
No, I mean,
silly.
obviously in sports and high school and stuff, I didn't hunt as much, but like I remember when I was a senior in high school, as soon as my buddy had his driver's license, we were up to the thumb chasing deer on the farm when we weren't wrestling. So
Do you recall other incidences of EHD when you were younger, or is this a relatively, from what you can recall, a relatively new phenomenon?
the only time I think I ever remember it the earliest is probably in 2012. And that's when like Iowa got hit for that first time really hard. And it probably happened before then, but that's when they like made it like it was out to the public. And I know people that said they would drive out that way and you could even roll with the windows down. It was so bad. And even through lower like Illinois and all that, where all the deer, big mounts of deer herd because it killed so many deer. But it was like Eaton County. Eaton County, I think it was it 5 years ago. They had that major EHD breakout and it killed just hundreds of deer.
See, I don't remember that. I
Yeah,
don't
it
remember. What the hell? Where am I?
uh if you watch Michigan Out of Doors, he talked about it.
But I should. I don't, but I should. We don't
Every
watch.
once in a while, I catch it on YouTube because I don't have time to watch on actual TV, but I'll catch it
Yeah.
like on break at work or something to do.
Yeah.
But
I'm always fascinated because, and this sort of stems from a different conversation that I have very frequently with some friends. I don't remember anybody ever telling me to be mindful of ticks when I was little.
oh yeah, no, it's horrible. We never had it when we were little. But
Nobody ever said go play, because again, go play in the woods, go outside, be outside, play in the woods. We didn't sit in the house, fucking play video games all the time. We were constantly, my parents have, when I was little, it was like 90 undeveloped acres of land that is now half developed, whatever. We were always back there riding bikes, mopeds, building forts, finding dead deer, finding antlers, like messing around. And nobody ever said, watch out, be mindful of ticks. It was always, there was rattles. We had rattlesnakes back then. And I don't feel like I see rattlesnakes anymore, but the tick situation is out of control. And
well,
go
my
ahead.
thought about it is that, like, remember when we were kids? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but you're clearly a little
43.
older. Yeah, you're a little bit older than I am, about 10 years. But even when I was young, we didn't have ticks that bad. And a lot of it is because, remember, we always had hard winters. We don't ever get a hard winter
That's
anymore. And then
true.
there's no kill off. There's nothing there to make them somewhat die off. And then what I have noticed too, which is nice on a lot of the public land, is that if there's places where they burn, the ticks will not be bad. It's
Mm,
the grass is what holds a lot of the ticks. That's what I've
okay.
noticed. And like you can't go through any grass field without getting covered, like especially in wood ticks. Like
Yeah.
now, a lot of your seed ticks and deer ticks, all that stuff. I haven't really gotten them that bad lately, and it's because they've started to burn off. That's the
Hmm.
best way I describe it. But then about August, you won't get the wood ticks anymore. Where you would get covered them, they'd be gone. And
Huh.
it's I don't know if it just gets too hot, and I mean, like, I'm not saying don't go out there and say, oh, there's no more ticks, but like it's just what I've noticed from being in the woods all the time.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that us not having hard winters, like this whole last winter was nothing. That's why I didn't even
So
find as many.
bizarre.
Well, I didn't find as many sheds as I usually do because the deer never yarded up at all. They were
Right.
spread out everywhere, and it was a pain. It was really bad trying to like, and I walked a lot of miles to find what I found.
So you are a hefty shed hunter.
Yeah, well, that's what I got the dog for too. So
Okay. Tell me about that. What kind of dog is it?
I got a Chesapeake Bay Retriever.
Oh, awesome. How old is the dog?
She's gonna be 7 this year, I believe.
Did you start training her immediately?
Oh yeah, and then I duck hunter too.
Oh, that's right. I have seen some of those pictures. That's fantastic.
And then I mean we shoot birds of all kinds, like
Yeah.
pheasants and all that. And it's I don't know, it's enjoying to watch the dog work. And
Right.
then this year, because of how spread it out, she didn't even find one shed. Usually she'll find, I don't know, probably 20, and she didn't find a single one.
What? From 20
Yep.
to 0?
Yep. And then I only found 7. And last year I found 83.
Holy shit. Well, you're probably the reason that I never find any. And I only found, I think, 3 like spikes this year. That is it. But you make a really good point. They weren't yarded up. They weren't in the fields eating the greens. Like they weren't like I see that big mess behind you over there.
No, but I was seeing it. I have the big one I found this year, but it was last year's shed.
Oh,
This is probably the biggest one I found this year. And he's just half broke 8 point.
oh yeah.
But
That's awesome, man.
oh yeah.
Fantastic. I feel
And
like
then
often I meet people who are just not that interested in shed hunting.
and then this buck, this shed right here, this is the deer I killed in 2022. This
Oh,
is
nice.
his shed. And then this is a low like 150s, high 40s deer
Yeah.
that I have actually both his sides.
Oh, sweet. And
And
those
then I
are
got a
Michigan sheds.
yeah, everything I have is Michigan, and I have 3 Indiana sheds and 1 Ohio shed. And the Ohio shed I found just walking around aimlessly looking for deer sign in the valley. I was actually with somebody else, and he's like, he couldn't believe it that I found that. I'm like, dude, I don't know. I just walk around and I look, and oh, there's one that's right there. It could be middle of October. It doesn't matter.
Do you make it a priority to shed hunt, or are you just out there and if shed hunting happens, shed hunting happens?
It really matters. Like it be the day, on the day. Like there's like a 2 week window. I'll make it a huge priority because that's like when they all drop. And I really make it a priority too in an area if there's a deer that I'm looking for.
Oh
And
yeah.
like I know he's alive, and I want his side. And I would say there's probably 2 or 3 deer I want to say I've killed that I actually have their sheds to them.
A single year or multiple years?
Just single.
That's still really amazing.
Usually I'll pick their shed up as a 2-year-old and then kill them as a 3 or a 4.
Okay.
And that one I killed in 2022, that's his 3-year-old side, and I killed him I think as a 4-year-old, not a 5.
Man, that's awesome. You mentioned that you know of an approximate, in your opinion, 2 week window where the deer drop their antlers. Are you basing that off of trail camera data that you've had collected over the years?
It's just, I don't know. It's a lot of things. It's usually weather.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have a big weather storm come in, like big. That's why I was hoping we get one of those big ice storms or something. If we get one of them, they all drop. It's just
Because their body goes into survival mode.
yep, and they're just done.
Yeah.
They don't. But this year I was having breeding on camera in like February, so like I wouldn't be surprised to see some really late fawn.
That's gonna
I
be
seen a freshie 3 days ago. Couldn't even cross
fresh
the road.
fawn.
Oh yeah, like just
Yeah.
dropped like
We
that, like within probably an hour or so.
same here. Three or 4 days ago, we had one across the street in the old man's yard.
Now, if anybody wants to know, now count the days back, and you could really know when your shit's going on.
Yeah, 200 days from within this last week, 200 days ago, right?
And yep, and I mean, like if you're into the woods enough and can see enough fawns drop or walk up on enough, or like just know like your area and see enough, start counting the days because you can really put yourself in the 3 to 5 day window when you'll catch deer that never come on the public from 5 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of things I've picked up using cameras and dump cameras and stuff like that. And that's like with trying to pull that 2 week window with shed hunting too. And like I just call it a 2 week window, and it's mostly like when I have like my cell cams out there and they just start showing up with nothing. There's just everything's bald. Then it's like, okay, you need to get on it like now. And that's usually how I usually roll with it because it could vary. And a lot like I guess there's those studies that they say they try to shed within the same day window every year, but I think it could be weather, it could be a lot of things. Like this year, I mean, they didn't lose their sheds till probably almost mid-March, a lot of them, which is really
I
weird.
100% had antlers on deer at the very end of March.
Yep. And it's just it's strange. It shouldn't be like that, but and that's why I think like I've been looking for a lot of deer right now and filming a lot of velvet deer, but it's hard because a lot of them aren't even past the full main beam, some of them because they've just dropped so late.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I hope that's not going to be an occurrence, but the good thing is we're getting all this rain and we're not getting dry, and that's going to help.
That's another thing that I don't have a lot of knowledge on is this discussion on wetness and how it relates to antler growth. What is your experience with that, and what is that based on? Just additional nutrients in the body?
I mean, think about it. Like, look at it 2 weeks ago, how non-green we were. Like, we were green, but we weren't like how like green we are now. And look at all the nutrients that are popping up with all the fresh browse. Like, I can't go to any little clearing in the woods now and not see everything browsed down. All the stinging nettle, your jewelweed, berries, anything fresh flower, and then all your rose bushes and all that are fresh flowering right now. So they're picking all the flowers off that.
Well, that's true. I did notice that yesterday of what was being plucked when I was standing out there for sure. Now that's really cool. Now I love that. That data concept that you are taking with you. Were you an early adopter of trail cameras, or is it something that you kind of, had to work your way into? You seem like a purist. Like you seem like somebody who grew up traditional. Hunting is a spiritual thing. Like it's a thing that you do. And this trail camera thing is so new and like fancy. Was it hard for you to get into that or no?
No, I ran trail cameras probably since 2008 real hard.
Okay.
And that's why I got a lot of photos.
Just sound like I asked like I'm an old grandpa, or like I just asked an old man what was it like back in the day?
The first trail camera I ever had was one of those Cuttybacks, one of the first ones where it had the little screw in on the top and you put the D batteries in it. But it still took digital photos.
I hunted for 2 years in the very early 2000s. And then I did not hunt again until 2017. I didn't live in Michigan. I lived in Florida. Hunting wasn't a thing for me at all. And then I came home and I've lost my mind with hunting. Like I'm obsessed with it. So There's a whole almost generation of technology and advancements and things that I have no idea about. So, like, you talk about this new camera, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh, that wasn't even a new camera. That's like 2000, prior 2008. They're just old. That's real old. But like, I mean, that's about the most technology I'll use. It's
Okay.
just the cell cams is probably the most I go there. And I
Yeah.
mean, I try to keep it limited, but I share with a buddy. So like we have quite a few,
Okay.
but it's because we're splitting on just the bill, like all of it all together. And then
That's
I
nice.
do most of the running because he lives almost 2 hours away from where we mainly hunt. So,
Okay. That's kind
and
of a sweet gig, though.
oh yeah, and I mean it works out for him, and it works out for me. And then he always gets mad because he'll get a picture of a deer and be like, "Man, where the hell is this at?" Because I don't know where you moved the camera at, and then I have to explain it to him where it's at.
I have the same thing where I move them frequently, and my brother, like everybody looks at them, and my brother will be like, "Where is that again?" And I'll have to like pull up Onyx, take a
Oh yeah,
screenshot,
you can't be
draw with
like
my
it's
finger.
so and so field and it's right there
Yeah.
on the corner and this and that. Nope, it doesn't work like that. You have to like give them an actual pin sometimes, and then they'll be like, "Oh, why didn't you just say it was there?" And I'm
In
like, "I
what
did."
direction is it facing exactly? Like northwest.
Yep.
That's hilarious because I do the same exact thing.
Oh yeah, and then like but the cool thing about the trail cameras is I use the trail cameras as more of it's something fun to do more than anything. Like I do use it for inventory, but besides that, it's kind of just like a hobby on the side of just keeping me entertained while I pick my teeth on what I'm looking for a big deer.
Yeah.
Besides that, like I don't know, like if they ban cameras tomorrow, I wouldn't even be upset at all. Like because like that's I'm always in the woods. I'm always practicing my woodsman skills, and like that's what I care way more about than anything else. The cameras is just a bonus. It's just fun, and that's where people need to decide between using cameras like that or like what they're doing with it. Like if you're out there doing scientific data with it, that's I mean it's reasonable. But if you're out there like hoping that camera shows up with a big buck, you'll never find one because you're hoping way too much.
Like
You're
they
putting
say,
way too much value into it.
it's all and it's always you're always too late. That picture is always too late.
Oh yeah, and the way I look at it is that if on a cell cam somewhere, and like most of my cell cams, they are in general spots that like the deer interact with people all the time. And like another trick I use a lot of times is I'll take my dog with me and speak. Look at it. You have coon hunters out there. You got people that walk their dogs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I got my dog out there with me. They never associate danger with me and the dog because they think it's something else for
Right.
some reason. That's what I've caught on to. But if I'm out there by myself, it takes 5 days before I get an actual picture of a deer on that camera.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll be there within an hour if I have the dog with me. It's just the difference between it.
You know, I want to circle back for just a one last touch on what
Sorry,
happened.
I do have ADHD, so
No,
I
no, no.
do like my mind goes like in
I
big
love it.
circles.
I
Okay,
love it
okay.
because I have it's we're gonna have a great conversation. I love it. I want to touch one last thing on what happened between you and then we'll get into some other stuff. But based on your ability to look at that picture that I took, realistically speaking, how many people would you say are like Billy and are basically, for lack of a better term, using trail camera photos of other hunters and hunting them, like letting them do the footwork and say, okay, so and so's here. I know they typically are on big deer. I'm gonna go here. Like, do you think this is happening on a more broad scale?
The only way, so like, I mean, that's a hard question to answer. Besides putting it as like a statistic, I would think probably one out of every 100 people, if they see that photo, maybe one, maybe the odds are even more. One out of 500 mightn't actually like. I know exactly where that's at.
That's much
Because
lower than I thought you were gonna say.
oh yeah, and the only way anybody knows anything is that if they see someone in the parking lot, because you got to think about it. Everybody goes to the parking lot,
Right.
but not everybody goes in the woods. Not everybody goes to that corner. Not everybody goes there, or not there or here. And when you have that select few of people, they've been everywhere, or they understand where the deer have been, so they've been by those places, and like or they enter the woods or they enjoy being out there, so they just like they see it all and they take it all in. And like the real reason like I know that place so well is because I cut my teeth so hard, and it really burned me so hard how hard I got burned by a couple of big deer in there that like I couldn't help myself. I stayed in that place and put all my eggs in my basket
Yeah.
one whole winter and stayed there and learned every little inch of it because it
Hmm.
was really irritating me that I kept getting burned really bad,
Okay.
and and I mean that place used to be full of a lot of really big deer. And the way you make it sound, it's like they're starting to come back. Like, and I like that because I'll tell you right now, if it comes back like what I think it will, like because like a lot of these areas go in a 5-year rotation too,
Hmm.
and that's a lot of people don't talk about that either. And like we
What do you
go into
mean?
that rabbit hole in a second because
Okay.
that's a whole rabbit hole I could talk about too. But like I'm pretty sure honestly, I could call my buddy and ask him, but I'm pretty sure someone last year shot a big deer out of there too. Some of
Okay.
the people I know that have hunted it for years and years and years, and then like just people I know and stuff. But and it's not really the whole spot burning thing. It's just like it's nice to know that there is quality deer in an area. Like you're not wasting your time. It's just not full of spikes, even though I did kill Spike out of there on
Yeah.
accident.
Well, I think it's important to note when I believe me, I love big deer more than just as much as anybody else. Okay, not more than anybody, just as much as anybody else, just as much as the next guy. When I say there are deer, what I am trying to articulate is that if you are a person who wants to shoot a deer to put food in your freezer for your to provide for your family, number one, Michigan has a plethora of deer. There is
Well, yeah,
really not a shortage of
that's
deer, and
anybody
this
that wants to
area,
hunt deer.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
this area has deer. I know it. I bumped half a dozen yesterday. There are tons of tracks. There is no shortage of deer. So if I say here there are lots of deer there, it's because I believe there are lots of deer there. I'm not saying whether there's a ton of big bucks. I have no idea. I just
Nope.
know that there's deer there. And if you want to shoot a deer, shoot a deer. So don't get it twisted. I have no idea if there's big bucks there or not. By the sounds of what Billy's saying, historically speaking, this particular land held big deer, and maybe it suffered some ecological downfall in the last several years, but maybe it's on its uptick now. But I will say, you saying that it's maybe 1 in 100 or 1 in every 500 is a far more promising statistic than I would have thought you would have said. I get the vibe that so many guys are going in deeper today because it's cool. It's the thing to do, like to go as far back as you can and to hike 2 miles in. Hell, I do it. Um, that maybe more guys are seeing more of these properties than in the past guys would have seen.
Well, you got to think of it this way: your phone took all the fear out of it. People
Maybe
aren't scared
absolutely.
anymore.
Yeah.
Then that's like there's people I know that have hunted public pieces forever, and now they're like, man, I've never seen so many people in my life, and it's because people are not scared anymore. They're finding pieces, and it's like here if you really want to kill good deer or even just Pope and Young or better or just even get after the 100 inchers, like it don't matter. You just got to get after it. You got to be aggressive, and you got to go from property to property. Some properties are more shit than others sometimes, and a lot of it is like I was saying, there's a rotation. Some years those deer will be there, and sometimes they won't. It could be food, it could be security cover, it could be any kind of change. It could be pushed in there in between pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But also some of those places that I watch is that I'll watch these places within a 5-year span, and some of them, like in the first year or two, there'll be a couple young bucks, and then in 2 years there'll be a whole bunch of young bucks, and then 3 or 4 years there'll be like I don't know 7 to 10 1.5-year olds. There'll be a couple 2-year olds, and then you got your 3-year olds, and then the one that you want. And then
Mm-hmm.
it's like they go in that rotation. It's like they got to rebuild their herd in a circle, and sometimes it happens because a lot of times when those big pockets of deer come like that, people come and they kill them all. I mean, that's the best way to say it. And then like the big deer gets killed out of there, and then it'll be a couple years of like 2 or 3 years of just deer getting killed out of there, and then it's like you could see all the old historic sign like there's deer there, and then
Oh
there's
yeah.
none. And then it's then within say 3 years you have your young population again. And there's a couple spots I know of right now that I've been watching, and then there's probably I don't know in that one spot there's probably 5 deer that'll probably go 3 years old or older. that are in that piece. And
That's
there's
pretty
a
good.
ton of year and a half years, but there's been no pressure there anymore. And it hasn't been in years.
And conversely, we have a private piece, which is 80 acres, that I don't know that we had more than one 3-year-old on last year. And he wasn't a 3-year-old that we ever saw during the season. It's a whole bunch of ones and twos. And so if there is public land providing that quality of deer hunting here in this state, and private pieces which people are are seeking out at incredible fortunes, why don't you spend some time on these public pieces now in the off season? And I was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, the worst thing that can happen is I learn where I'm never going to go. That's the worst. I mean, who cares if I go out there and I spend 2 full days scouting and it's not going to be productive? At least I learned I don't ever have to come back here.
Yeah, but if you did look at it and you do drive by there and say the agriculture around it switches and you drive by there and you're like, holy crap, look at that deer. Then you actually have an idea of what it looks like inside there regardless.
Exactly.
That's where like a lot of people don't understand is that don't sit out there and waste your time. Not any time in the woods is a waste of time. No matter what, if the piece is garbage from 0 to 10, if you want to rank it. But like at some time or another, if there has been historic sign there, even just big giant chest high rubs at some point, that means at some point a big mature deer has used it and he will be there eventually. Maybe. Right. I mean, unless something like tragically happens, like I don't know how you could really change that here because there's just deer everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't understand why our state's not a designated state. Wow, I cannot say right now. Destination state just for deer hunting, because we just have a ton of deer in lots of spots.
Yeah.
Like up north, there might not be a lot of deer in places, but there's just a lot of deer across your landscape. And like, I noticed my buddy said he ran into people from Ohio last year and they're like, they love coming up here because there's just deer everywhere.
There's so many, you always like, I hear a lot of guys talk about going to these public pieces and they're like, oh, I didn't see a deer for 3 days. It's really unusual to not see deer up here. Like to sit and not see deer.
Well, really a lot of those people though, and this gets back to that going too deep, you're walking past the deer probably.
Oh my God, yes.
You're literally letting them know that you're walking past them. We're probably watching it. 90% of my sits, I'm not 60 yards or more from the road. And I have more action there than I do walking 2 miles in.
Yeah. I am very aware when I see the sign by the road and I don't blow it off. There's a reason it's there. Like you said, there's a reason the sign is where it is every single time. And to figure out to just sit still and just kind of take it all in. Like look around you, look at the topography in the land, look at the cover, look at the browse, look at why it's there. There's a reason that sign is there. And
or look, why are the bucks there now and they weren't there even in early October?
Mm-hmm.
Those have been there the whole time.
Right.
You have I know one spot off the top of my head, there's probably 6 doe groups all along the road there. And once late October comes, if I have a camera there, I can guarantee you I got one deer at least 140 or better on it.
Yeah.
And I mean, he might be the only real big one in that area, but there'll be a ton of other like good deer on that camera too. And it's because you have all those doe groups there.
When you focus all of your time on public land like you do, does your ability to roam and go to another piece that you've scouted, do you feel like that really sets you free for when you encounter a piece that's got a lot of additional pressure from other hunters? Like, is that just a huge thing for you?
I really don't understand what
you're asking. So if you want to hunt somewhere, like if you got a piece that you want to hunt on and you show up for hunting and opening day, let's just say it's opening day and there are 6-7 cars in the parking lot. Are you easily discouraged by that? Or does your broad options of public land kind of set you free? Like knowing that you can go anywhere and still get on deer?
Well, when I pull up the parking lot and there's 10 or more vehicles in it, get kind of excited.
Really?
Because honestly, there's only 1 or 2 places those deer could be. And if there's no one there, and if I walk in on the guy, I'll turn right around and act like I did see him. And like, I won't ruin his hunt. I won't be one of those people, but like, it's exciting because you know that everybody else is everywhere blowing their wind all over the place, and those deer can only be in one or two places right
I
there.
like that. I like that outlook. That's a really
Put it
positive
this way.
way.
Put it this way. On opening day in 2022, when I killed that real big 8-pointer, or he's a 7-pointer, but he broke his point, there was 15 other trucks in that parking lot.
Come on.
Not even joking.
You know how many people would have hung it up that day? They'd have been like, fuck it, man. I'm going home. I'm gonna come back
Oh, yeah.
another day.
The funny thing is, I showed up at that parking lot at 3:30 in the morning by myself and the only person out there. There was not a car or soul in sight anywhere. And I snuck out of there with that deer and the doe I killed with him at like 8:30 in the morning with nobody seeing. Like, we even let people drive by that were driving around looking for people with deer, drive by and run and throw them in the back of the truck and got the hell out of it.
Oh, that is hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's seriously, most people say, I hate when I see cars in the parking lot. It's a huge turnoff. I got to go somewhere else. I don't think I hear a lot of guys say that they're okay with it, or especially that it excites them.
Yeah, because it's like there's only a few places those deer can be. Think about it. If everybody's trying to kill you, where are you going to be? Where are you going to hide? It makes it more simple. It makes it even more simple. I love when people turn around and throw a fit that gun season comes. And it's like, I mean, I like the gun hunt, but even if I was just a hardcore bow hunter, it's even more exciting because those gun hunters pack those deer in little pockets, and you can come into a little pocket and have 30 something deer in it. And you'd have the most exciting hunt you could ever have in your life. And it's because they're just piled in there because it's safety and they know it's safe there.
Mm-hmm. Man, I like that. That's a really refreshing take, and I'm glad you shared that with us today.
Don't ever get discouraged. Like, there's no reason to. And you have to be positive about it. If you're going to go out there and you're going to show up with a negative mindset, you might as well not even be out there. What the hell are you doing?
That's a fact, man. That's a fact.
Because your whole hunt's going to be disorganized.
Yeah.
You're going to hate on everything. You're going to be like, all these effing people are out here. You're going to be like, I'm not going to see no deer. And the funny thing is that I've been like that a few times. And the one time it humbled me so bad that I don't go out there with that mindset no more. And it's because I killed a buck and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm supposed to be out here having fun and I'm being a jackass.
Yeah. Well, mindset is a lot of it. And I don't know if you ever listened to the Mobile Hunter Dojo with Matt.
Oh, yeah.
So
I talk to Matt here and there every once in a while.
Nice. He's a great guy. He and I are both real big on the mindset and like sort of visualization of putting things into play and how you can manifest certain things. And I firmly believe that that's what happened with me last year. And I think that can happen with a lot of people, positively speaking, but it's also conversely negatively. Like you said, if you are constantly negative about everything, you might as well just stay home because you're not going to enjoy it. And the whole thing, you got to enjoy. You got to enjoy the mistakes. You got to enjoy the miss ups.
I mean, last year I would say he's probably almost a 4-year-old. He's a 3 or 4-year-old 8-pointer. I had him at 18 yards and I still could even shoot him. I had him 18 yards for 20 minutes, even after I snort weased him and he was chasing all the other bucks off. I still could even shoot him because it was too thick. And it burned. It hurt so bad. But at the end of the day, it was still exciting.
Yeah, to be that close to them.
Oh, yeah. And him like grunt and chase the other deer down, and he just shredding everything to defend his doe. Like, it was great. And it was one of those opportunities that I thought in the back of my head that if I snort rees right now, he'll come right to me, and he did. And the only problem is that I think he finally caught me at the end there after sitting there for 20 minutes trying to figure out where's this other deer at. He couldn't figure it out, but it was so thick that I thought I was okay. Like, even when I'm hunting turkeys, you stayed in thick stuff, they got to come find you. And that's what he was doing. He was trying to come find me, and he was within range. There's no way I could sneak an arrow through there like lethally.
Yeah. Oh, that stings.
Oh yeah. Him. And then like on opening day, or not opening day, 3 days after opening day, I had that big buck chase all those does out of that cut I was hunting. And that was a big deer. And there was another like poping young deer in the bottom making a scrape, and they were all chasing and going crazy. And it was only October 4th.
Holy moly.
Oh yeah.
Recently?
Well, last October.
Last October.
You could catch a lot of pre-rut activity in the first part of October. I don't know, a lot of people don't pay attention to it. As soon as you see those does hit your scrape, you better be in there because she's looking for a buck and she's starting to go in estrus, and that's how I believe about it. And a lot of it is just because if you start counting a lot of the first fawns that get dropped, and they're always by those big, like 5 to 10-year-old does, always, if you notice it. And then
Yes.
they're the first ones to always come in a scrape too.
Yeah. Yeah. We had in fact, in my yard for the first 4 or 5 years that we lived here, we had an absolute horse of a doe that would drop twins in our backyard first every single year. And she was probably 8, maybe 9 even. She was just gigantic.
And she's the doe that she goes and finds him.
She finds
And
the
that,
bucks. Yeah.
yep. And those are those that I try to like hunt early October, because it's just like they're gonna be there. And that's what I caught on this year. And a lot of it I caught on because I was catching his tracks too. A couple of these deer is I would catch their tracks coming in and out of these places, and I knew why he was there. The whole reason why he was there is because they were there. And then, I mean, clearly there was a white oak in the bottom too, which like helped why the does were there. But he didn't even stop to eat. They just pushed does all afternoon, and I still couldn't even get a shot of that deer.
So early season, you just told me, correct me if I'm wrong, early season, you are seeking out the most mature doe who could theoretically be going into estrus first.
Yeah, or the older doe groups. Because
Nice.
it seems like they're usually the first ones to go in, or because like I don't know like comparison on the younger and older does, but it just seems like the bigger, more mature does are the ones, the first ones in the scrape.
Yeah. Yeah.
Later in October, you got those younger deer and every deer in the scrape.
Mm-hmm.
But like the real older deer are always the ones that are first ones kicking it off, it looks like. And it usually happens around that first moon too. And that's the first part of October. Last year I was catching it real early though.
I agree that last year it all started early. I feel like just so many people, excuse me, are so stuck on the bed to food pattern for that early season, which don't get me wrong, is
it's killer.
Absolutely an incredible option.
But we don't start in September. It would be more killer if we started September. If we
I agree with that
early
too.
September, it would be murder. It literally would be murder.
Do you ever find that any of the beans, like, do you ever find any beans that turn later into October?
So this is like a whole theory that I talked to a buddy about, and it's something we thought about, and it totally threw me off 2 years ago, really bad. So, like 2 years ago, like early October is really cold, and we got that frost really early. So look at it this way. So your beans in early September, that it was hot. It stayed 90 degrees till September, what, 30th or 31st, and then October 1st it was 55 degrees out.
Yeah.
Then we got that frost, and those beans turned in September from green to yellow. But what I noticed is, as soon as we got that frost, it did the same thing like the snow do, and the deer didn't even care about anything else, and they were all in the bean field, still on agricultural pattern, and I totally skipped it all. And I kick myself every day for noticing that. If we get an early frost and there's beans still on the ground, those deer are going to come hit it, because it changes the cold in the beans, like how they were hitting it in the cold season.
Right.
They want that protein from them, and they're not sour no more. Or I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's what I've noticed. So that's what I noticed 2 years ago when we had that early frost. Same with the early frost. If you have the big stinging nettle what do you call them? Like the big forest of stinging nettle, like the big patches of it. If you get frost too, they'll eat that all the way to the ground of the root. And I don't know if it turns it sweet, like how sugar beets, when they get cold, they turn sweet too.
There's got to be something to that.
It's something to like with them to like seek it out that hard like that.
Yeah. Well, I love that you said what you just said about the oldest mature doe groups, because it isn't something that I hear a lot of people talking about. I do believe I have heard people talk about that in the past. It's nice to not be so pigeonholed into one option, like the bed to food. It's nice to be able to say, you know what? For example, let's say my beans were taken down immediately this year. Shit, what do I do? Well, you can go in your memory bank and you can remember when Billy was talking about that big old mature doe group that's realistically probably going to be going into her estrus before anybody else. Maybe you need to start finding those older does instead of getting hung up on your food being gone.
Well, and I mean, when you're out glassing deer all summer long, or September, or when you're doing it, I mean, you see them all. Watch what they're doing, where they're coming from. They're going to give it away. They all give it away. And I mean, it's just the way to be about it. I mean, you got to be about it to actually get after it.
That is one thing, not one thing. One of the many things that I'm picking up from you is this this is more than just a hobby for you. Like this is an actual lifestyle for Billy. Like Billy Ritchie,
Oh yeah.
the outdoors is you live and you breathe it every day. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. 365 days a year. I drive my woman crazy.
But she loves you for who you are, though, right?
Oh yeah. And
Good.
my kids.
How many kids you got?
Just two.
Just two. Two's all
And
plenty.
one, oh yeah, one's gonna be one this month and the other one's two.
You have young kids, my
Oh
man.
yeah.
Good for you. Good for you for still finding the perfect imbalance because life is never balanced. It's one thing is
No.
we skewed one way and then it swings back. And it's the fact that you have young kids and you can still find time for your passion and not quit and give up is
Well, the biggest mistake people are doing is they're not taking their kids with them. That's the biggest mistake. I take them everywhere if I can.
yeah.
The only reason why I haven't taken them recently is just because the bug's been really bad.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I mean, it's hard to fight a 2-year-old mosquitoes. It just doesn't work.
Daddy,
But
stop hitting me.
yeah. But the good thing is like when you're out glass and stuff, why can't they go with you? If you're
Oh,
going to stay most of the time in the vehicle, that's what I don't understand. Take them with you. It doesn't hurt.
I
That's
think
why the dog goes with me.
was it Jake Bush that was talking about going to get ice cream with his family, like using that as the excuse, like let's go get ice cream and then
Well,
do the loop and
the
get it.
funny story about that is that's by woman. She's like, why does everything we do have some association with somewhere else? It's something you need to go look at or do. I'm like, well, we're already going out there.
Yeah. It's not exactly. It could be you could be leaving them at home and trying to go do that by yourself, but you're including them. That's
Oh
super.
yeah.
I agree with you. That's super important. But along those lines of living and breathing the outdoors, what is Michigan dreaming?
Uh, it's like a YouTube page I created, and then it's kind of where I want to put my content, but I haven't really moved towards using YouTube real hard yet.
What are your
And
apprehensions on YouTube?
what was that? I didn't hear you. Sorry.
What are your apprehensions about YouTube?
It, I feel like YouTube right now is so saturated though too.
I
And
agree.
it's like, and it's why double show everything I'm showing on Instagram that I could show on YouTube too right now. It makes no sense. I'm not
Okay.
making no money off this. I'm
Yeah.
not paid by anybody. So like, why do I care?
It's
I
in
mean,
you're
so
wasting your time theoretically doing it twice, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
much.
I
And I
like
mean,
that.
like, and I mean, the way I look at it is that I don't have to share it all. I could completely be silent altogether. And what I'm sharing is I want to share. I want people to see that there's deer like this out there, or there's animals like this. Like that's the whole part about running trail cams. It's not even the fact that I'm getting all these deer on camera, but I get everything on camera.
Yeah.
Anything from bears to bobcats to, I mean, anything. I don't know. I've had just about anything on camera, like the weirdest shit too.
Like what? What's the weirdest thing you got on camera?
I don't know. That's a hard one.
Is it human
There's
related?
maybe not.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think. There's something really weird I've seen. I don't know if it was recently.
I don't know how I like I've had trespassers on trail cam before. Um I've had the homeowner on trail camera, but like when sometimes you'll see like somebody will put on the internet, oh, like there's a naked this naked guy walked by my trail cam. You're like, the fuck is there a naked guy in the woods for?
I've
Uh
never had anything like that.
that's good. That's good.
Oh yeah, thankfully God.
I don't know.
But
I don't know if you've listened to any of my episodes, but I had a guy on here talking about he went back in the woods and there was a naked guy in the woods, like sitting down, like in a creek. And he was like, what are you doing, man? And the guy's like, I'm just hanging out.
I
I'm like,
think I heard that before.
what the hell?
I think I remember listening to that on one of your episodes because I listen to just about everybody. It's so hard to keep up with my own content and share
Sure.
like some of your guys' content. I like sharing your guys' content. I share Matt's from time to time too.
Mm-hmm.
And then Bowhunter Chronicles and
Oh, yeah.
Generations to Hunt podcast. Like I like all you guys. And I mean you guys are doing like what we need in Michigan is everyone needs to get together and quit like screwing around. Like
Yeah.
this really we could really have something great here. I mean, like we have all the fishing you could ever have.
Holy
Why
moly.
why
You're
are
kidding.
why are we missing out on deer hunting? Like, I mean, we have all the deer. We just need people to be a little bit more respectful towards each other, I think, and we'd be fine.
Yep.
Like I don't care what anybody shoots. I don't even care if I'm in the same area with some dude and he shot the 5-pointer that I let by. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my deer. I don't own him.
100%.
That's why I don't, it's just a brown goat with antlers. That's all it is. It really is. That's all it is.
I do believe I've heard someone call them goats before. And that cracks me up. But yes, they are
I
brown.
mean, they got no top teeth.
Yeah.
They just got bottom teeth in the front, like it's a goat. Or if you want, it's a giant rabbit. That's all it is.
Okay. I'm more on the goat team than rabbit.
Yeah,
But
same here.
I,
But
I get where you're going with that. But let's talk about Michigan Dreaming some more. So what are what are you focusing on right now as far as Michigan Dreaming is concerned? Glassing season?
pretty much,
Yeah.
pretty much just filming deer and any other kind of wildlife I run across. I mean, the good part about working nights is that like we've been getting off later, so I'm getting off right at first light, and I'll go take a swoop. I live
Oh,
pretty
good.
roughly close to public.
Okay.
Like I think the closest public piece to me is only 7 minutes. So
Oh, that's not bad at all.
no, and that's 5,000 acres.
Oh shit. That's really
Mm.
nice. Where do you hope? I mean, is there anything that you hope? I know you said that you are trying to avoid doing things twice unnecessarily, but realistically speaking, go ahead.
Honestly, so you know who Fred Trost is?
Yes.
Well, I mean anybody that grew up in Michigan, that's your Thursday night when you were a little kid, and I mean like I kind of want to bring something back, kind of like that,
Oh, I like it.
if I can, but it's not. It's just the fact of having enough time to really put my time into that is what is where the factor is where I'm losing at, and it's like. Do I want to put a bunch of time in YouTube or do I want to just keep killing deer and living life like how I've been? And it's kind of a weighted issue. And that's where a lot of people I think are struggling is that they're putting all this content out, but you're not killing anything because you're not learning anything out there. Because you're you're spending more time taking 25 pounds of camera equipment in the woods with you than doing anything. And I've really downgraded because our phones are so great that I just film everything with my phone. And if I could turn everything into an outdoor show that people could enjoy, just using my phone. And I mean, I'm not looking to put anything like high D HD like quality or however you want to call it out there. I just want something enjoyable, and it should be something enjoyable or tell somebody's story. Like that's really what it needs to be. There's
It's
just too much of how you need to do this out there, and there's no way you need to do this. I
yeah.
can kill more deer on a bucket than I can anything else.
Yeah. I know, you make a great point because there is something beautiful when somebody creates that cinematic masterpiece with all of the incredible transitions from shot to shot. Um,
You know who
fades in
does
and
really
out.
good at doing that? It's the Latitude guys.
Oh, absolutely.
That shit is good. Like that is like I feel like they definitely up their game on all that, and it's good. Like they're really good at putting quality content out, but like that's not an average guy's
No,
ordeal, and
no.
that's where all these average guys are saturating YouTube with the same content that the same person next to them's doing.
Yep.
You're not doing anything
Guilty.
different.
Guilty is charged. And I'm
and
not
that, and
naive
that's
with that.
and that's why I won't leave Instagram really right now, just because
Mhm.
like I haven't really filled like my rhythm of how I want to do YouTube. Once I get my rhythm of how I feel like I could tell my story or like what's going on or how we really want to do it, then I'll do it.
Yeah. I like that. And because what I was trying to say was there's something beautiful about these cinematic masterpieces that these guys are creating, but there is something equally as sexy with the raw, to the point. The dude filmed it on his phone. The buck, his couple of trips scouting, his single sit. The buck walks in, he drills it. You can see the absolute enjoyment in his face. You can see his grip and grin, and he's so happy, or she is so happy. Like it's short, it's sweet, it's raw, it's beautiful. They're both beautiful in their own way. And
Oh
so
yeah.
there's a little bit of that, like there's content for whatever you're feeling at the time. And so
Oh, and that's the great part about YouTube though, is
oh,
that there's content for everybody
100%.
and any beginner. And I mean, YouTube could tell you how to do anything. You could rebuild a whole house just watching YouTube if you watched all the right
Yeah.
stuff.
I learned a whole bunch of stuff from YouTube when I was remodeling my home. Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, it's about what do you want? What
Yeah.
does Billy feel most proud of? What do you feel most proud of as a content creator? Because ultimately, most of the time, nobody gives a shit. It's you.
No.
It's what are
Yeah.
you happy with what you're doing? Are you going to be able to look back at this in 20 years and share it with your kids and your grandkids and be like, this is what I was doing when I was in my 40s, and they're not going to care if you had the most technological transition from shot to shot. They're not going to care about disappearing graphics in and out of the screen.
No.
Like, that's my grandpa or that's my dad. He shot that cool deer and he recorded it, and now we can see it forever. That's all they care about.
Oh yeah. And that's really a lot of why I'm going to keep recording too, especially a lot of my deer hunting. It's just for my kids. Because
Yeah.
when they're really young, I could come home before I go to work and we watch everything that just went down.
I love
Not even an
I go
hour ago.
back in my phone and I look at all the videos from Kansas because I love Kansas. And like I try to remember that day and that sit or that series of events. And I just love looking at my own content, just reliving the
And that's
glory
why I've been
days.
posting a lot of my content lately, is because I just have so much content I could share that people have never even seen.
You've been putting out a ton of video clips recently. And if you're telling me that you've got what you told me, 30,000 or something like that, images or videos or whatever,
I have
dude,
probably about
much
15,000 videos on my phone and then 30,000 something just photos.
that's incredible.
And then my computer, I probably have over 100,000 things
Incredible.
of everything between videos and clips and deer and you name it. I mean, it's just the way of my life has gone, and it's the way I like it, and it's enjoyable looking back at, especially a lot of deer I've chased and the stories I could tell about, like a lot of these places I've visited or been, and funny things that have happened. That's like the greatest thing is when it's just some stupid stuff happens, and we end up killing the deer anyways.
Yeah. Well, what brought you to Indiana?
Well, I mean, it does help that I live an hour from it.
That's true. That does help.
And then, I mean, I've hunted Ohio a lot, but then everybody kept talking about Indiana. And then when they upped the price in Ohio, I was like, let's try making a switch. And then they upped the price over there. So it's like, it
Say
doesn't
that.
matter anywhere you go now, but it
Yeah.
just, it was close, and it
Okay.
was close enough to where I could go hunt it in the afternoon and come home.
That's
Like
incredible. I didn't even realize
yeah,
that.
but it's like, if you think about it, a lot of the guys that come from the city out my way, they're driving the same amount of distance that I'm driving to go to Indiana.
Yeah. So it's
And
just more
and
opportunity.
yeah, it is. It
Yeah.
just makes sense. And then, I mean, I had my opportunity down there, and now it's so flooded because there's so many public hunters that want to hunt Indiana. Like, I've seen people from Pennsylvania that, like, you guys are like way off the map. Like, you're way farther. I'd ever think anybody from Pennsylvania, and I figured they'd go to like the hills, like what they have.
Mm-hmm.
No, they're out in the flatland. I mean, flatter than
Oh,
flatland
damn.
with Amish. And he was
Oh,
that story you told earlier, that guy, that's what I was talking about with the dudes with the release, is that I hunted up front in the morning, and some dude from Pennsylvania, he walked by me and he had that new Lone Wolf Climber. So I sat there and actually talked to him because, like, I wanted to ask about the Climber and how much he liked it and this
yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
that. And he's like, man, that damn Amish dude and his son lost that release, and they were running back and forth in the field. And I don't know what the hell was going on. Then I heard him over there yelling at his kid, and it was like, he's like, he screwed my whole hunt up, and I seen 5 does, and that was it. And I'm like, I was just dying laughing.
Oh, well, I've never seen Amish in the woods. Um, and so it was a legit question. Like, how can you tell the difference? Because I think I was talking to Joe and he was like, no, they use modern equipment, which blows my mind.
They
Because
all pile in a van with 10 of them, and then
I
they'll drop them
so
all off.
confused.
And like in Indiana, they have, like, you have to check yourself in.
Mm-hmm.
They'll have one girl go in there and write everybody's name down on that list, and they'll all go. It's crazy. Like, it could get really crazy. Like, I went down there in muzzleloading season 2 years ago when I shot that buck, and I hunted in the morning for like 5 hours, and I got down, I need something to eat. And then I was like, I'll take a loop around and see how many people are actually around. And I was like, holy shit, there is Amish everywhere. So I'm like, they're already pushing everything. So why don't I just go where I think the deer are going to be anyway? So I went right in there and I shot that buck at 9 yards.
Amazing.
He literally stood up right out of his bed, looked right at me, and I shot him right in the throat and dropped him. And I was like, I'm done playing. I'm not going to mess with the Amish anymore. Because they didn't even push through that section just yet. They were getting to. And I know they heard me shoot and probably were like, what the hell?
And so can you confirm that they're in their plain street clothes when they're hunting?
So if I've seen them in camo,
Okay.
and then you could tell they're Amish, dude, because they'll have like their regular like that blue shirt they always wear.
Yep.
But 90% of the time they have that Amish hat, and you could tell in the beard. Instantly you could tell. And funny story is me and Joe, we walked in this one piece, and I like pre-scouted it before I met up with him at camp around the one side, and there was a bunch of big tracks coming in out there, and that's where he seen that nice deer that one day. And with the Amish cart that come around the corner and scared him, which was funny about it. But we walked up the edge of that like creek swamp slough thing, and I'm walking and I look up and I'm like, holy crap, there's like a 250-pound Amish dude in this wood stand, just standing there, like not even saying anything, didn't say anything to us, with a crossbow, like ready to go, not even realizing that we were people. I don't think. I look at Joe and I'm like, we need to turn around and go back the other way. And we did, and we got on the other side, and that's where all the deer were. So it worked out. Like that pressure helps.
Yeah. Oh, really, yeah.
Put the deer in like select spots, because only, like I said, there's only so many places to go.
Yep.
And if they're not there, then they're just not there at all. I don't know how to describe it. And then honestly, if you can't find the deer, go bump them. If you have a few days to hunt, go bump them. You're not going to hurt anything.
Have you had a lot of success doing that, and not necessarily harvesting deer, but seeing deer? Oh
yeah. That buck that I snort wheezed, I was telling you about, the whole reason I think that all erupted was because I what do you call it, bump and dump 2 other bedding areas, because it's like a triangle how it works around that road. And I've been burned many times, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Why don't I just walk through these other 2 bedding areas and stack that one? And I did, and I didn't even get all the way set up, and it sounded like somebody was strangling a cat out there. I don't know what the sound was. I almost got down because it was so wicked sounding that I'm like, I've never heard anything like this, and I want to go know what the hell this is, because this is crazy. What the hell is going on? And then I started hearing, bleh, 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 bleh. What happened is he tackled one of the bucks that were in that thing and was holding him down and killing him. He was trying to kill him in the bedding area. That's what he was doing. And what's funny is that then it all went crazy, and there was deer running everywhere. There was deer running underneath me, and I was only like 3 feet in this little ass tree, and this bedding area is only like, it's all shrubs. So I was in this little shrub, and there was deer running underneath me, like I could touch the top of their backs. They were coming by so fast. And there was like this 110-inch 8-pointer, and like 3 different spikes, and some other little button buck, and the spike went flying in the air when I snort wheezed, because he like went crazy. And then that's when he first came by me, and I seen him, and I'm like, come on, just come on. All you need to do is like 10 more steps and I could kill you. But nope. And I actually got down just before dark, because where I was at, they were in the open right there, and I could hear them just chase everybody out. And like, it was the opportunity. If I had a decoy, I probably could have gotten attacked if I tried.
Shit.
And like, you don't hear about that in Michigan, but it's the situation. Oh. You have to be in the right situation. If they're not fired up, you ain't gonna do, like, it ain't gonna make like no sense at all.
Right.
You're just gonna scare deer. And I don't have no call or nothing. All I did was snort wheeze with my mouth, and he just come right at me. It pissed him right off.
Have you had luck doing that before that opportunity?
Yes.
Okay.
A couple times. And honestly, if they're really that fired up, one little snort wheeze usually gets them going. It's all it takes.
But you don't historically carry a call. It's just your mouth.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I try to limit the amount of stuff I take with me.
You don't want to be that guy with a 25-pound backpack?
No, I don't even take a bag. It's usually just the camera arm and my stand and my bow. That's it. Like,
so you are mobile hunting.
Oh yeah, completely. I do set 5 stands, but they're usually set in spots that like I could see deer, and if I'm running out of time, if I really want to get out, or they're for one of my older buddies that's like 63 years old, and I'll set him up, and 3 years ago, he missed a nice 8-pointer that come out, and he shot over his back, and he said it was the greatest thing he's ever done in his life. So, I mean, that's all that matters.
Right. So what are you running as a mobile setup?
I got a 0.5 with minis, 4 minis. And then I used to run the old one with sticks with a Millennium M8 or I think that's what it's called, the M8 light that
Okay.
weighs like 8 pounds.
Yeah. You like that point five?
It's all right.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna upgrade this year. I've had it for 4 years now, and I just want something a little different with less moving parts, as sticks
Okay.
wise at least, if that makes any sense. But I'm a two sticker too. I barely ever use more than two sticks unless I'm like in Southern Ohio or somewhere. I need five because you could be 8 feet on one side and 40 on the other.
So I specifically bought one additional climbing stick per set that this year for that very same reason. Because where I go in Illinois, the topography changes very dramatically, similar to Southern Ohio. And if I'm
Okay.
in Ohio, that exact reason, I bought an additional stick for my saddle setup, an additional stick for my point five setup for that exact reason.
Oh yeah. And
But
I mean I've never ran a saddle, but that's something that I probably will put in my tool trade, but I do hunt off the ground a lot too. And
interesting.
then and it's like I don't just do one thing. It's just all the situation all together.
You
I
can't.
honestly most of the time love hunting at the end of like there's a lot of deadfalls, and especially after all this high winds we've had the last couple of
Oh
years,
yeah.
there's just deadfalls everywhere. You could sit almost anywhere where a deer are coming by in
Mm-hmm.
most of the bedding areas, and you don't have to carry a stand and be loud. And like some of these places, I can't even put a stand in there because they're gonna watch me. They
Right.
literally, it's just such a small pocket where they're sitting that as soon as I'm in the tree, I'm skylined, no
Yep.
matter where I sit around it.
That's true. I feel that same way. Hunting from the ground is something that I haven't gotten real comfortable with. Sadly, I know I need to, and I know I should have the last couple of years in Kansas. That didn't do it. I just don't have a lot of confidence in doing it, and that's it's just something that I know
You
I gotta
you got a
practice.
recurve?
I don't know.
Well, go buy a recurve. Even just go buy the cheap Amazon one
Yeah,
and just go spot and stalk does all day
yeah.
in afternoon and early October
I
on
should,
public. Just stalk around. It'll teach you how to do everything, anything you need to do. And honestly, there's another trick to it too. Is you could call does in the early season too. The first couple days, you could call them with a fawn
like a
distress. They'll come
fawn.
running at.
Okay.
They'll run at you and attack you almost. A lot of people don't really do it anymore because I don't know. Everybody's all about let's not kill does, but
I
there's no
love
shit.
shooting those.
Oh, there's no shame.
Fuck.
Every single one comes by me is dying. I don't care. There's too many of them.
Yeah, I don't shoot everyone that comes by me, but we take I don't know seven doe, six, seven, eight doe every single year. Between my brother and myself and my other friends who hunt down there, and there are they reproduce three to
So
four
fast.
times that many.
Oh
So
yeah.
if I shoot eight and they make 32, the fuck did I?
You
I
didn't do
did nothing.
anything.
I did
All you
nothing.
did was you created more food for other deer. That's all you did.
Yes.
And I mean, that's just, I
Oh
mean, it is so too true that like some areas I won't shoot any does in there because
hmm.
like I've drove around enough to know that there's just not a big population of deer, and
Yeah.
like I'll manage public areas like that too and keep it to myself because like I'll give or take like say like probably two or three of those does are gonna die from somebody else coming in there and hunting, especially in gun season or something. But then
Yeah.
like you could really like look at public properties and manage them yourself if you were to look at it and like really figure out what the deer are doing. And if you talk to some people, a lot of people these days are passing a lot of the deer up too. They don't want little deer because they see all over social media that everybody's shooting 100-inch or bigger.
Hmm.
And I hate, I kind of hate it because it's just ruining a lot of like what these kids should be doing. And that's my kids. I'm gonna tell them you kill everything, just shoot it all, have all the fun you want until you really want to take it serious.
So we have a gentleman's agreement down at our private piece in order to help the deer get to a certain age class, and my son knows that, and he's heard us discuss that. And I took him out for the youth season last year, and he could not decide to shoot a velvet spike because he thought he was not allowed to.
Oh,
And I felt really bad. And I didn't know that I had to have the conversation with him. That's totally on me. I felt really bad because I just never explained to him, like, man, I want you to shoot whatever you want and just be
oh
happy.
yeah.
I felt so guilty.
Well,
Um,
I'll tell you this: if I don't get my bear tag, you guys are welcome to come down for the youth hunt.
oh, thanks.
I usually take like a few kids every year.
Oh,
Like
that's
last year,
amazing.
yeah, last year we took two kids. We didn't kill no deer last year, but then the year before, my buddy came out with his six. He has 9 kids, but he brought 4 or 5 of them out. I don't think he brought 6 of them, and 2 of them killed deer. One
That's
shot a
awesome.
7-pointer, and the other one we spot and stalked Spike in Velvet. He shot it,
Oh
and I got
man.
that actually on film, and that's one of the actually films I put on YouTube, and they took it off and said it was children against danger or some crap. I don't know.
Uh,
Somebody reported it saying it was danger to children, and I don't know where and what point that was ever dangerous to the child, but
So that was initially why I thought you were anti YouTube, is all of their censorship.
some of it. And
Yeah.
it's just like I haven't really learned myself around enough to like not get hit like that trying to use it.
Right.
Where YouTube, it's kind of like the Wild West. It's a free for all,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Well, what do you have on the agenda for hunting this year? Are you a traveler at all? Other than Indiana, which is only an hour away, are you someone who seeks out additional adventures in other states at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, because having kids in the situation, it changed everything. But I do have actually 3 Kansas points, and I have 7 Iowa points right now. So
Oh,
like
damn.
that's somewhere I'm about to go. And then if I wasn't going to draw my bear tag, I was going to go to Wisconsin or Illinois because there
Okay.
is a couple places down there that I know people that know things that have told me
Yeah.
things that I need to
Hell
go
yeah.
look at. But then also Wisconsin is a cheap tag. I could go there and have fun, you know.
Yeah. That's nice.
And it's just I've
Illinois
never
is
been
not.
there as like hunting wise, so it'd be an adventure altogether. Or I thought about going to Ohio because I can hunt in early September there because of other reasons, which I don't know if I want to tell everybody
That's
this, but
okay. You don't have to.
you can hunt Ohio in early September.
Hmm,
They
I did
have
not know that.
in some places.
Okay. Very
And I
cool.
mean, I could discuss with that with you later if you
Yeah,
want
we
to
can
check
talk
that
about the
out.
side since I'll be down there. I mean, that's where I work now. So I always try to
Okay.
parlay hunting trips wherever I work. And historically, that was Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, and Wisconsin. And this year, I don't do any of those other ones. I just do Michigan and Ohio now. So I got to figure out Ohio. So yeah, we'll talk about that for sure.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
cool,
I know.
man. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I have taken up way more of your time than I thought I was going to. I'm not wearing my
Oh, you're
glasses,
good.
couldn't see. But I really appreciate you coming on tonight. I had an awesome conversation with you. I learned a bunch of stuff that I made notes on my my paper here. I don't
That's
typically
awesome.
notes from things that people are sharing, but I made notes. I just had a lot of fun chatting with you, and again, I thought you were closer to me than you actually are, and I had invited you over. You have an open invitation to come over anytime. Next time you're in the area, let me know, and you can come over and we can do this together again and talk about some other stuff. And or if you ever want to go scouting this over on this side, or if I'm ever over there, whatever, we can figure something out, man. I'd really appreciate it.
Sounds good. Sounds
Well,
good.
I thank you so much for coming by. Why don't you tell everyone one more time where they can follow along with you?
So you guys can find me on Instagram as DD112, and my profile's public, so it's pretty easy to follow me. And then I mean, it's pretty easy to see it's full of deer and pictures of deer and dead things. I mean, I don't and fish.
And I don't have it written down, but what's the Michigan Dreamin' one?
It's just Michigan dreaming.
Okay.
It's MI dreaming,
Oh,
and then
okay, but it's
I
not
couldn't
dreaming.
remember. Couldn't remember if it was TV at the end of it, but it's not anymore. I don't
Okay,
think we ever put that in there. And then like I believe on my Instagram it has the link to go right to the YouTube page too.
it definitely does. It definitely does.
Okay.
I
And
highly
I
recommend
share
you
it from
come.
time to time on there, but I want to get better at doing it, and I will eventually once I get in the rhythm of how I really want to do it, because I think YouTube could be a story. It could be way better than just putting random crap out there, you know.
Sure. Well, love it, man. Well, I love it. I had a fantastic conversation with you. Thank you for reaching out yesterday and
Oh,
letting
no
me
problem.
know that you knew where I was at and
Well, I
being.
mean, any help I could be. I mean, it's places that I if I do hunt, it might be one time, and
Yeah,
it'd be out of the spin just to do something different.
that's the one place that I've been by me that I'm actually like excited about so far.
I would be, especially if you're saying there's a lot of deer again in there. Oh
Yeah.
my, you're gonna be. It could be quite impressive.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. And again, we're down to like 4.5 months, maybe five, almost maybe
Oh
5 months
yeah,
the season.
that's why
Four,
I
you're
just got
anywhere else.
the deer hunting blues.
Yeah.
So there's I keep sharing everything.
Yeah. I totally get it. Well, thanks again, Billy, man. I appreciate it. It was great to meet you. Great to talk with you. I look forward to a friendship here and learning more about you as we move along.
All right,
Um,
thanks, man.
Everybody else,
I'm happy to talk to you too. So
yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. Anybody else that's hung out this late, I appreciate you as well. For those of you who have not done so, go to Apple Podcasts and leave me a review, whether it's good or bad. All press is good press. It could be silly, it could be terrible, it could be Brett, you're the worst, and that's fine. Just go leave me a review, and we will talk to everybody else next week.